Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Jashed. Today I have with me Dominique Miles, a soulful self-care guide who really cares about guiding others into their self-care journey based on what's unique and useful for them as individuals. Dom is also a Reiki healer and believes in bringing fun into the work we do on ourselves in order for it to actually have an impact on our lives. So I'm really excited to have you here with me today, Dom, because it's at that point of the year. We're leading up to the holidays, and it's at the end of the year of our lives, 2020. So I feel like this is just a really, really good time to dive into all things self-care, or as many things as we can in this one episode. So thank you so
Great.
much for joining me.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. First ever podcast. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm so glad. And we were just chatting before, like, about why self-care is relevant, but why, like, I guess that's probably the best place to start is why does self-care feel relevant to you, where you live and at this point in the year as well, just to give us that basis of.
Yeah. So for me, I'm a giver. I'm a person of service. I worked in retail for 16 years. I'm a middle sister, and I just want to make people happy. So I just felt like I was always giving, 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 which feels so good to me. But as we know, you can't give from an empty cup. And I live in Maine. So with our time change heading into this time of year, it's like so dark out at 4 o'clock. And so it really like affects your mood. And if you're constantly giving to people, you're not taking care of yourself. You're just kind of depleting yourself, and you don't want to give that negativity away. So I found in my 30s, right before my 30th birthday, I had just been dumped by a guy that I probably shouldn't have even been in a relationship with to begin with.
Yep.
Didn't make the smartest choices in my 20s, but that's okay. I learned a lot. And I just felt like after that moment, I was like, I deserve way better than this. I don't deserve to feel like this. I don't deserve to be treated like this. And I wanted to live a happier life. And I wanted to live a life that the people I gave to saw me as. And I just didn't feel that way inside. So that's really like when my journey like really started. And, you know, of course I took care of myself and I had fun. I lived a good little life. But that moment, I really just kind of had like an aha moment. Like, I want to like be in love. I want to be in a happy relationship. And I knew that I couldn't find that in somebody else if I didn't have that with myself. So my older sister came to the rescue, and she introduced me to a course that she had taken online. And it was a 6-week course, and it was called 42 Sexy Steps to Self-Love. And from day one, I like dove the fuck in. I was like, all right, this is going to change my life. And it did. So that's kind of where it started. And it really hasn't stopped since then.
It hasn't. Like, it's interesting because I had kind of like that defining moment just before my 30th birthday also, or right like on it actually. And where you just like, even if you've been practicing that level of self-care to some degree, you kind of have this moment where you're like, oh fuck this, like what, like I am actually done with like the half-assing it, even if you don't feel like you'd been half-assing. Like there's this moment where you're like, oh no, okay, I'm actually done with, you know, with that old story. And then there's this, it's like this gateway opens up and you can just dive in deeper because you're just like, I'm not wasting any more of my time on anything that doesn't fulfill me and doesn't enrich me, which is
Yeah.
really, really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned, because how long ago was that that part of your journey started?
5.5 years ago. So
Yeah.
35.
and you haven't stopped since, right? Like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
just been this continual, and I think that's one of the misnomers about self-care is just like, oh, like if I have this bubble bath, I'm going to feel so much better and this is going to be great. And like,
Yeah, it's not a one and done deal. And of course, you want to do those things to make yourself feel better in the moment. But with anything in life, the more consistent you are, the better the outcome is. So, that I feel like most people kind of have like that breaking moment or that aha moment of wanting to change and wanting to grow and make better decisions for themselves. And that was mine. And I love that yours was around your 30th birthday too. I feel like before a lot of women or men go into their 30s, it's kind of like, okay, this is like crossing that threshold into a whole new time frame for them.
yeah, I didn't even like, I wasn't that worried about turning 30. I've never been worried about turning the age that I am turning that particular year. But like when I turned 30, I wasn't that worried, but I was just kind of done with the bullshit. Like I wasn't, um I feel like I think I just reached this point and I didn't correlate it with my age, but it probably was very linked to that of like, oh, okay, let's just grow up now. Like let's just actually stop, you know, not doing the things that I want to do, or stop accepting things that don't align with me or don't make me
Mhm.
feel good. It was this moment of, yeah, of like, oh, I actually want to feel good.
Yeah, like I want to feel good. I
Yeah.
want to surround myself with people that make me feel better, that want to see me succeed. And
Hmm.
my 20s, that just wasn't what was happening. And of course, I'm still friends with a lot of people from my 20s, so it wasn't like it was all bad. But I do feel like, that time I was like, okay, similar to like what you said, I was like, okay, I'm ready to like be in a big girl relationship and to
Yeah.
um, spend my time doing things that I know are good for me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting, like I had this moment where, not this moment, but like it kind of, life just kind of opened up from there, and things started aligning more and more and more, like a lot quicker as well. Like people who are aligned with me started coming into my life. I'm like, great, this is awesome. Like just this whole journey of realizing the contrast and the difference and how much easier it can be and how much like more enriching whatever I'm doing and spending my time on can feel. And it kind of like I can pinpoint it back to like that kind of time. So did you have that experience as well?
Oh, absolutely. Like when you feel good, you like become a magnet to other things that you want to feel good. So, um, mine, I think I recently just came like full circle with my self-care journey. So after I took that course, this was in May, so it was 6 weeks, and then so it came up right at the beginning of my 30th birthday. And as my little treat to myself after I finished the little course, I treated myself to a Reiki session. And I remember like leaving the Reiki session, like feeling good, but I was like, oh, like I didn't have this great epiphany or like magical vision or
Yeah.
anything. So I was like, okay, that was cool little experience. And then within not even 3 weeks, I was reunited with an old friend who we met in college and then went our separate ways for like 10 years. And his best friend and my best friend are married. So we all went to a concert together. And ever since that night, we've been together. And here we are 5 years later. And I just know that if I had not done the work on myself previously, um, we probably wouldn't have. I mean, we might have. I don't know. Who's to say? But I know I was able to show up as my true self in that relationship because how I am in our relationship and how I was in the beginning when we first were dating was the most confident that I've ever been. And I know that confidence came from doing that course and really learning what self-care is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so here we are 5.5 years later, still together, still super in love. And now I practice Reiki. So that was kind of funny this summer when I like had this like, I just remember sitting at work and being like, I need Reiki. And because of COVID, I couldn't go get it done. So I was like, oh, I'll just get certified online because I can. And so, yeah, it's been like full circle the past 5 years with that course and getting Reiki certified and meeting Chris. So it definitely all kind of fell into place.
And it's like, it's so easy to look back on and go, oh yeah, I can see how that all pieced together. How nice is that? It's so neat, it's so clean. But when you're in it, it's not necessarily feeling neat and
Right.
clean. It can feel like a shit show. And like this, you know, especially when you're doing work on yourself, it's not always easy. Like, as we said, you know, sometimes self-care is taking a bubble bath or having a glass of wine or whatever. And sometimes, most of the time, it's actually like diving deep and looking at yourself, and you can feel all sorts of things. Like you can feel tender or exposed or just like
Mhm.
exhausted and
Yeah.
overwhelmed. But it's almost, it sounds like you've trusted the process, and now you have the moment where you can reflect back at this, you know, the
Mhm.
last 5.5 years and go, oh wow, like that all came together because I started prioritizing me in a way that
Yeah.
served me, not in a way that like other people were telling me I had to do it.
Right. And you hear, all the people in your life are, I hope, supportive of you. And they're like, oh, I want you to find a nice guy. I want you to be in a relationship, or I want you to be happy. And it's so great when other people want it. But when you really want it for yourself, that's like your game changer. And, so much magical things happened after um, that course. But like you were saying, it's what was happening during that course was totally different than what actually happened after. And as you know, when we do, so Jess and I are in a mastermind together. That's how we met. And it's like journal prompts, or when you get asked certain questions that you're reflecting, like my whole life, like I was never a crier. Like I just pushed it down deep and was like, oh, I don't want to cry. Like crying is for the weak. It's not happening. And now I like, you asked me a deep question. I'm like, I'm just so emotional because it hits you in a different way. But I think that's really where a lot of the healing comes from. And for you to grow and really like see and trust yourself is when you become vulnerable and know that we're all human, we're all going to make mistakes, but just giving yourself a little grace and loving yourself and like trusting that now I'm making the right choice that I need right now will get me to the next spot. I don't know if
Yeah.
that answered any of your questions, but
No, it was no, it was great because it's trusting the process. And also one thing in there that I feel like has come up a lot this year as well is giving yourself grace. Like
Mm,
actually, I mean, we've been through I almost don't have words for it, but like we've been through just this dumpster fire of a year in so many ways. In so many ways, yes, like it has been amazing for not a lot of people, but also like other people, like there's been moments that have been great, like, so I'm
mm,
not discounting that, but collectively it's been a dumpster fire. And especially for you guys who are kind of still in the midst of it largely, and
yeah, we're
as
still in the dumpster that's
you're
on
used to,
fire.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've got the hose, like I've got this
Yeah.
hose. I'm like, hey, can you just
Hose, please.
hi, like it's okay.
Right.
From all the way over here, I'm like, there's a whole ocean between, let me just
Yeah,
splash
could you
someone
splash
in.
that off? Exactly.
Please let me. But like um and as you said, like you guys, especially where you live, you have such a long winter, and you have
Mm,
such like a change in just daylight hours where you don't have many, like it's just, whereas here at the moment, especially the sun's coming up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just, so it's giving ourselves grace, like wherever you live in the world, because it's been quite a year. There's a collective experience that has been going on, and there has been a certain kind of trauma in that as well, and there's been security and stability things coming up like everywhere across the board. So it's really honing in on the importance of giving yourself grace, especially when things are challenging. And it's not giving grace isn't giving yourself excuses. It's really about just going, oh, no wonder this might feel challenging for me. Like, no wonder that's a thing that I might be reacting to a little bit differently than I normally would. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, what do I need from that? So like, it's just this awareness that like, hey, we're not going to be perfect, but also when there's such circumstances going on, how about we just stop trying to be perfect and actually just
Right.
Yeah.
Just take it down a notch. It doesn't need to be all aligned all the time. And like, I think last winter I really noticed not for lack of better words, like the seasonal depression, because it's like dark out at 4 o'clock, and there's like funny memes out there that are like, oh, I thought it was midnight, but really it's 4 o'clock. But that's like really what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you like come home and put on sweatpants right when you get home, and it's okay if you want to stay all dressed up until you go to bed, and just deciding in that moment like what makes you feel good. And there's no right or wrong answer, there's no perfect solution for it. And it is harder to have that like awareness of that seasonal depression of, you know, it's 4 o'clock and it's dark out. Why am I not finding any energy to do anything? Because that sunshine, it's light, you shine some light on it, and that's where you kind of get a little motivation from the outside world. But if that light's not on, you're taking that motivation away from you. So then you have to kind of like dig a little deeper to push yourself.
Yeah, I just had this like epiphany of like, no wonder Stephen King came out of Maine and writes the way that he does. It's just because like
It gets pretty dark here.
Yeah, he's just like, well, this is what I'm doing. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But like, you're right, and it is looking at what feels good in this moment. And I would say like making sure that whatever it is isn't because it's habitual, but more that it's consciously chosen, because there is, like self-care is different for everyone. We all have our different ideas, but we also have different needs on different days, depending on whatever that is as well. And
right.
Yeah, and I know that you, in your work, you help your clients and you help people around you really clarify that, like as I introduced you as like you're a self-care guide, where you don't sit here and like direct people and say, hey, this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
You just,
and yeah, you have so many options, and we were saying this before, but self-care really is whatever makes you feel good. Like my self-care may look different than your self-care, which looks different than Susie's self-care, because we're all different and we all enjoy different things. So there's no like book that says you need to take 3 baths every week, you need to paint your nails, you need to journal every day, because you're going to feel different each day, and you're going to need different things to express different emotions that come up. And depending on what you're going through will also kind of determine what feels good for you. So I think just knowing that there are so many options out there for self-care, and knowing that you're not doing it wrong if it makes you feel good. As long as you're
Yeah.
not harming yourself, you're good.
Yeah, right. There's always that caveat of as long as you're not harming yourself or like other people, as you
Yes.
know, all of this.
Mhm.
But how do you find that you have to navigate different self-care needs like within your partnership, within your relationship as well?
Yeah, I pretty much all of my self-care started like hiding in the bathroom because I was like, it's like tapping EFT is one of my favorite self-care because it really helps me like focus on my breathing, on my nervous system, and helps me talk it out as I'm like tapping. I'm also a very big physical touch person. It's my love language, is I love physical touch. So tapping is like one of my favorite self-care practices for myself. And I remember when I first learned about tapping, I was like, oh my God, this looks so weird. I can't do this. I was like, this is not for me. And then I just tried it. I was like, okay, let me try. And I started noticing how much better it made me feel in the moment. And then when I tried to make it like a daily practice, I would like hide in the bathroom, or I would do it when nobody was home because it was embarrassing because it was different. And it was also, I think a lot of times we kind of get in our head like, oh, I'm trying to work on myself, but I don't want anybody to know. I just want to show up better. I don't want to show up. That's me. Like, I was like, I can't let people know I'm actually working on myself. I'm going to do it secretly. And then I'm just going to show up like this new magical person, which that obviously doesn't work. But it was. And it's also being that vulnerable piece as well, is being vulnerable in front of my boyfriend, knowing like I'm working on myself. This is what I'm doing. These are my tears. These are the things that I'm like healing. You're putting yourself out there for people to think whatever they want to think about it. But I kind of lost my train of thought there. But back to tapping is, once I got more comfortable with it and I really noticed what it was doing for me and how much better it made me feel, gave me that confidence to share it with others. Because one of my favorite sayings is, if she can, I can. And if I can, you can. And that has really helped me really like step into my role of being like, I want people to feel as good as I do from doing this self-care, from like really loving myself, because I've had amazing mentors in my life that have helped me. And I want to continue that ripple effect, because if they can, they're proof that I can do it. And then if I can do it, most certainly the next person can.
I love that. I do love the journey and the realization though of like when we do hide our
Yeah.
self-development practices as well, and what it means to be able to express that to the people around us, like, and it is vulnerable. And sometimes, like, I was only saying it to someone this week where I was like, yeah, I just realized I never really learned healthy stories around this particular topic, and actually like now I am, and all of this work is paying off. Like, it was just this really nice recognition, but also this comfort in getting to that level of feeling comfortable just expressing that part of myself, and not really worrying about because no matter who it is, like who it is on the other side of the conversation, sometimes there can be the fear of like a rejection or a judgment from them, because like, oh, what do you mean you don't have your shit together already, or like,
Or, oh,
what?
you're fine, you don't need to work on that. Or
Oh yeah, yeah.
they downplay it, and then they downplay it like, oh, you don't need to work on that, or, oh no, you're making it way bigger in your mind than it really is, which you might be, but it's still something that you might want to work through, so that way you learn your lesson and you don't have to go through it again down the road.
Yeah, maybe you want better for yourself.
Yes.
Imagine that.
Right. And sometimes the people that are saying that to you are the people that don't want to grow, that don't want to heal, and they want to keep you at a certain level so that way you don't outgrow them.
Yeah, because it makes them feel uncomfortable, like, because like inevitably, even though you're not the one shining the light on them, you doing your work on yourself, it causes the people around you to kind of shine the light on themselves and go,
Mhm.
this is
Right.
uncomfortable, potentially uncomfortable. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's inspiring as hell. Sometimes it like motivates people, or like even if they don't realize, it can light a fire under them in a healthy way for their own like purposes. And they go, hey, oh yeah, good point. Like you said, I can do this too. And this is
Mhm.
a great opportunity because maybe I feel safe trying it because they've been around you who have tried it, and if they're close to you, there's a safety in the vulnerability that they would then
Yeah.
experience and stepping into that
Mhm.
as well. Like they're like, oh cool, well Dom's doing this and I'm really close with Dom, and oh, that makes me feel safer to try it because I'm not alone, or at least I
Mhm.
know she won't judge me, or like all of the stories
Right.
that we as humans tell ourselves.
Right. Like, oh,
Yeah.
if I like go live on Facebook, everyone's going to start laughing at me. But that's not
Mm.
the truth. That's what we make up in our mind. And it's the same if you try, like when you try something new, it feels uncomfortable. You're like sometimes embarrassed, or you don't want people to know you're doing it. So we like hide. But then when you do it in front of somebody, you feel proud, you're excited. And the majority of the time, you want somebody to come do it with you. And I think that is just a beautiful message to share is, if I can do this, you can do it. And it's way more fun to do it together than by myself.
Yeah, definitely. And I hear like this kindness in it as well. As you were saying it before, also it was just like this, yeah, if they can do it, then I can do it. But then if I can do it, like of course you can do it. And it's not,
Hmm.
and there wasn't any sense of pressure to that. It's purely just like, yeah, of course you can do it. So what do you
Hmm.
want to do? Like what serves you right now? And what is that
Hmm.
first step? And
Right.
how would you how would you guide or recommend people into just starting the first step if they're not, like maybe they go to the gym regularly, or they like they have that kind of self-care, but that can arguably sometimes be a little bit more physical than
Yeah.
internal, even though there is internal things going on when you show up for yourself
Right.
in that way. um
Hmm.
how would you how would you recommend to people to take like where to look for that first step, or what to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Some of the like easiest essential self-care things that I definitely recommend is I'm a water first girl. Um, and I think it's like the easiest way to boost your mood, your skin looks better, you have more energy, is making sure you're hydrating your body enough. So water first. Before I do anything, I drink water. It's the easiest way that I try to. I'm obviously not perfect. There are days I don't get my water, but the easiest way to make sure you're getting enough water is, before you leave the house, drink a glass of water. Before you do the dishes, drink a glass of water. So water is my favorite self-care. The other one is gratitude, and it could be as easy as writing a gratitude list, or as you're walking around picking up your house. I am grateful for these pillows on my couch. I am grateful for these clothes. And little bonus points is, if I like to call it mirror work, but when you're looking in the mirror and getting ready for the day, say 5 things you're grateful for about yourself. Like, I'm grateful for my body for carrying me around. I'm grateful for um, my eyes to see. I'm grateful for my mouth to be able to communicate, and just being grateful for your physical body. I'm grateful for my mind to make my own decisions. I'm
Mm.
grateful for my heart to show love, and really practicing gratitude is just such a great way to show appreciation for yourself, for the world, for your day, and the easiest way to magnetize other great things into your life.
Yeah, and it's like it's not overcomplicating things either.
Mhm.
Like the water first, that's not complicated. Like we're
Mm.
human beings, we're like 70 something percent water anyway.
Right.
Like it's useful and it's not complicating the self-care, and the gratitude is purely like you said, like looking around the house and go, oh, I am really grateful for this couch, or like just the things that we can um kind of take for granted that we've done for ourselves, or we've received for ourselves, or we've achieved for ourselves. Like, it's like, well, actually, no, I have put together this house. Or if you're not in a house, oh, I have put together this room. Like
Mhm.
I have, like, I am grateful for this plant that's next to me because, like, I received that in some way, whether I went out and bought it or I, like, someone gave it to me. It's here and it's with, like, it's not overcomplicating what that self-care is, because it doesn't have to be complicated.
No, and there's going to be days where, you worked 10 hours a day and you want to come home and have a glass of wine and snuggle up on the couch. And that's self care because you're resting, you're treating yourself to something. It doesn't have to be wine, it could be a kombucha or tea. And a bath, it's relaxing. Self-care can also be journal prompts, and
Mm.
journal prompts are always like the ones that really like get me deep because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
able to just let it flow. But I think it also depends on what you're working on. So part of my Reiki sessions that I do with my clients is I send them like a welcome form that just kind of tell me, how you feel about your relationships, your career, any physical pain. And then I also ask them, what do you do for fun? How much water do you drink? How much sleep do you get? So that way I can kind of see where they're coming from before their Reiki session. And then a Reiki, for those that aren't familiar, it's energy work that helps release any energy that's no longer serving you. It's the energy of love to fill you back up and helps realign your chakras. And then after the session, I send them a follow up email with like affirmations that they can say, some meditation recommendations. And then there's a couple journal prompts and some like actual physical things that they can do with their body, whether it's like cleaning up a room in their house or jumping on a trampoline, certain yoga moves to help like physically move it as well, because there's so many different aspects of human life that if you kind of touch on all of it, you're kind of doing like a little deep clean balance on everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. And it's again, like, it's it's letting yourself just be across the board and go, okay, cool, what do I need for my body to move? Like, and it could be on the trampoline, like on the rebounder, going, yep, cool, I just need to shift. Or it could be, I'm actually going to go to gym today. Or it could be something like restorative yoga, where you're not really moving that much, but you're in this position that's super, super nourishing for your nervous system. It's going, okay, what do I need for my body? What do I need for my mind? Do I need to have journal prompts and actually just spend 20 minutes, even 20 minutes, just sitting there getting it out? And then that's helping to declutter my mind. And what do I need for, like, my heart, like all my emotions, or whatever you relate it to it as individually? And go, okay, well, maybe sometimes self-care is like having hard conversations, like setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's tougher.
Right.
But like that can be a thing. Or it's like oh, maybe I just need to say no to that social thing because I just need a night in and to rest, or to not be on screens,
Mhm.
um or I need to reach out and actually ask for like connection, because I need conscious connection, not just like by default with work or whatever. Like it's and it will change from day to day, but it is just looking across the board of what fills you up and what's like what helps you function as a human, and going, all right,
Mhm.
what's like one thing I can do? And it doesn't always have to be the big things.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's like, oh, I want to go like full spa day. which obviously sounds magical, but
Doesn't
maybe
it?
it does.
Sometimes it does.
But maybe it's not in the budget or it's not in the schedule, so you don't have to totally like kibosh that spa dream. How can you create that that experience for yourself at home on a lower budget? And it could be as simple as buying yourself some flowers, having a bath, putting those flowers in the bath, putting some oils in a diffuser, lighting a few candles, playing some meditation music, and creating that space for yourself instead of a full spa day. And then maybe, someday you will have that full spa day, but to still give yourself a little self-love, self-care.
I think that's a really good point as well. Especially like with the world still going through COVID also, like there's so much that we could be there like, well, actually all I need is just this. I just need to be able to do this, like just this thing. But in a lot of instances, like it might not be possible at the moment. So it is, once again, we come back to giving yourself grace and going, right, okay, I can acknowledge that maybe this like spa day is what I need, but like spas might not be open in my area. Okay, cool. Well, that's what I need. I can give myself the grace and acknowledge that and just go, yep, cool. And it does suck that I can't do that or I can't have that yet. What else? Like what else can I do for myself that makes sure that I still feel that sense of nourishment or that sense of receiving what it is that I need? And just, it's doing what you can, and then knowing that it like you'll get it again someday. Like it will happen, and
That
it's not
will happen for you.
and it's not that far away, but it's just tough
Mhm.
when you don't know as well. So to bring it into like that real current context of the world, like it's just going, it can be tough because a lot of what we feel like we might need might not be achievable right now, but it doesn't mean that it won't ever happen. It's just going, okay, well, what can you do given the circumstances? Because I know that some people can get caught up in that, yes, but I need this and I need this, but I still need this, but I still need this, but I still need this. And they get stuck on that cycle of, but it's this, but then not actually step out of it enough to go, yep, but what can I do for myself now?
Yeah.
It's like this.
Right. Like you're looking at this. I'm just going to use a spa day for the example, but you're looking at this spa day and being like, this is what I need, but I'm only getting a bath. And that's where you have to bring yourself back to that gratitude of, I am so grateful that I have this warm water at my house. I am so grateful to have the $5 to go buy myself flowers. I am so grateful to have the time to myself to relax. And when you treat yourself to something and show appreciation and gratitude towards it, you may be a little surprised at how good that makes you feel versus maybe how you felt all day at a spa, because paying for that spa at the end of the day may have felt nice, but then you're paying that price when you show yourself a little appreciation and gratitude towards doing something yourself, and almost like rewarding yourself, like I did all of this for myself versus being treated at the spa.
And it is, and it changes the energy like as well. Like if you go in to have that bath at home with that grudge against the world of, well, it's not what I wanted. I mean, again, you can acknowledge and say, look, it's not exactly what I imagined or whatever, but if you go into it with that grudging sense, like of course it's not going to still feel good at all, like of course it's not going to help at all. And it's on the flip side, like if you go into it expecting miracles, it's also not useful necessarily either. But if you just go into it with that gratitude of going, and I say just like not to minimize it because sometimes that can be challenging as well, but if you do go into it with that gratitude of, okay, well, I am really grateful that I have a bath or that I have this warm water or that like past me had bought these candles, you know, like that I can light, and that I can, or that I have this book that I can actually read that I wouldn't have really been able to at the spa day because like whatever, like, you know, interrupted all the time. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it changes the intention going in and what you actually open up yourself to receive in that space that you've created for yourself as well. Hey.
Yeah. And that's, you know, kind of brings you back to giving yourself that grace that it may not be what I thought I needed, but this actually is exactly what I needed. And knowing you will always get what you need. And your mind may paint a different picture, but what you truly need is always already within you and at your disposal.
And again, it's the trusting the process as well. Sometimes, like, yeah, we don't always know what we need. Like, we can think we know, we're like, I need this whole spa day because I need the whole day out. Like, just like screw everything, I'm out like for the day, and I need people to tend to me. And like, maybe that's true because that actually sounds kind of amazing. But also, like, it could be that you just need alone time, and having people tend to you at the spa wasn't going to give you that. Like, it's too many other people. Yeah, so it's trusting the process, and like you said, it's letting yourself receive what it is that you can, because then generally you do get at least a little bit of what you need. So
I know. But, you know, that self-care, it's definitely more than, you know, a bath and spa days,
yeah,
which obviously are magical, but it is that spending the alone time with yourself. It's looking in the mirror and seeing who you really are, and accepting and loving on yourself just the way that you are in that moment. And I think that's why the mirror work is like, it's super powerful, and it feels really uncomfortable at first. But if you do like pull out a mirror and put it in front of your face, and just, you don't even have to like say anything right away, but just, you know, staring at yourself and getting to know your body and looking yourself in the eye. A lot of people have a hard time making eye contact with other people, but it's like, if you can make eye contact with yourself in the mirror, like, that is super powerful if anybody wants to try it.
yeah,
And
it's like, sorry, you keep going.
yeah, but just like, I think when you can kind of have that like peace alone with yourself in front of a mirror, clothed or unclothed, whatever you want to do, it's really powerful to bring that appreciation to your body and yourself. And then you can add in some affirmations to kind of get you more comfortable, and just trusting that you have what you need.
And the other thing with that as well is, like, the more you, there's a saying, and I was trying to remember what it was, but it's something like the more you are comfortable with yourself, like the more you can show up authentically as you in other situations, even if you haven't planned. Like, if there's like a conversation that is sprung upon you that you didn't plan, and you're like, oh shit, how do I handle this? The more you are solid in you, the easier it is to handle, even if you don't know the answer, right? Like, even if you don't know how to deal with the things that happen when life makes them happen.
Right.
The hey.
But yeah, it's, you know, when you are comfortable with yourself and you trust, like, you trust your reactions, you do show up better in those relationships and those conversations that are either planned or unplanned, because you trust your body, you trust your voice, you trust the thought process of what's going on in your mind. So, you know, whatever does come out, you trust it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I feel like we could talk about this for like days. But that's probably a great start, especially at this time of year. Like, no matter where you live, like if you experience seasonal affective disorder, um, or if you're just sweating like me here, like because it's hot and but busy because of Christmas, or trying to figure out life because of COVID, or anything else outside of those things. It's not exclusive to those things, obviously, but I feel like it's just a really good time to check in towards the end of the year, but also at any stage um, where it can start to, like, we start to be reflective of the year that's been, and we start to sort of look back and go, okay, cool, like, wow, like a lot has happened. And that's on any given year. Like, I do that every year. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
right, holy hell, it's been a year. And sometimes that can feel overwhelming, or sometimes it can just feel like a lot. So it's just this reminder to, I think, yeah, to summarize it, like to show yourself grace, to recognize that you might have different self-care needs to the person next to you, or that you might have different self-care needs on any given day as
Mhm.
well, and to just go with what actually makes you feel good, but let it be that conscious decision rather than the habitual, because the habitual might be where you are just, like, not really consciously deciding. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, go.
I think a lot of times we're so quick to react, and
Mm,
you had a rough day or you're not feeling good, and it's like, oh, fine, I'm just going to do this instead. But really, it's just give yourself a little grace, take a few deep breaths, and really listen to your body and try something new that maybe you haven't tried before, and see how that makes you feel. And I think we already said this, but self-care really is just anything that makes you feel better in the moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's the best way to summarize it.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so much for joining me. I am so grateful. Um, can you let people know where they can find you and follow you and your work, if you like?
Yeah, on Instagram, DominiqueMarie.xxo, and Dominique Miles on Facebook.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so, so much. And yeah, just take care of yourselves.
Yes, 'tis the season of giving, but make sure you give yourself a little love first.